Hello guys, you're welcome once again to my channel, and in the last video we did the introduction, and in this video what we are going to be doing is basically installing all the packages we are going to be need to first of all build our API. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I'm going to go to open folder, and in our applications down here, so I'm going to go in here, my htdocs folder, and I have a folder here called YouTube multi-auth. And now I'm going to click on open, and now that opens this for us. So I'm going to do control backtick to get the command line. So I'm going to generate a new Lumen project using Composer, and I'm going to say Composer create project. And I'm going to call this application React Multi-Auth YouTube. Click on enter. And while our application is still generating, or while our application is still scaffolding, I also want to make this comment. Of course, I will also drop the description below as I do for every video. The full application is already available on my GitHub repo. So if you just head straight into, let's get me this guy here. And let's see if I went to, oh no, I want to open this in incognito for certain reasons. So now if I go to my GitHub repo, and I go to repositories, you can see here we have Laravel Lumen multi-auth API. This is the API, and this is the React part of the application. So now we're going to head back here, and this is taking a little bit of some time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video, and I'm going to come back when this thing is done installing. So now our Lumen application is perfectly scaffolded, and I just cleared my terminal. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is we're going to have to move into our React multi-auth YouTube folder. Just go into that folder. The reason why we want to go into this folder is because if we do anything outside of this folder, which is this folder that hosts this application, it probably will create a composer.json file for us, and even if we install a package, it's going to install that package outside of this folder, and we might be having conflicting issues. In the sense that our application will not be able to see what we thought was installed. And right now, I already have my composer.json open, and what I want to do in my composer.json is simply to update my composer.json with all the packages that we are going to be using for this application. So the first of them all is going to be our Flipbox Lumen generator. Our Flipbox Lumen generator, and we're going to be using version 6.0. The next one we are going to be using is going to be our Lumen vendor publish, which we are going to use to publish our keys. So Laravel Lumen vendor publish. .02. The next of them is going to be our JSON web token. So we're going to be using Time on GWT auths package, and we're going to be using develop. And the last of them we're going to be using is going to be our form request. In other words, being able to help us have form requests within our Lumen application. So this is going to come from Rameshibir. Lumen form request. And this is going to be version 1.5. So now I save this. We have perfectly been able to write the packages that we are going to be using. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to run, say, composer update. So it's going to update our composer.json with the necessary packages that we need. And loading composer repositories. And right now we have all our packages installed. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into our app.php here, and I'm going to set up a couple of things. So first of all, we would need to use the facades as well as eloquent. So I'm going to uncomment this auth, all right? And I'm going to also use, we're going to need the route middleware. We are also going to need a couple of things here. Like we're going to need the auth service provider. So I'm going to uncomment that. And we'll need the app service and the event service provider. And then I'm going to add the packages that we just installed, their providers. And the first one of them all is going to be our Timon GWT package. So I'm going to register this app GWT auth, and we're going to get the providers, the main service provider. It's a class. And oh, sorry, I noticed a mistake here. This is supposed to be Timon because this is from Timon and not from app. So now we can save that. And this next one we are going to be adding is going to be coming from Orashimi, basically our form request service provider. So I'm going to say providers, and let's get this out of the way. Form request provider. And the last one we are going to be registering is our Lumen generator service provider, and this is going to come from flipbox / Lumen generator / sometimes my IntelliSense works great, sometimes it doesn't work great. Lumen generator, and this is class. So now that we have registered our 3 packages from here, what I want to do right now is I'm going to head over to our console and I'm going to say PHP artisan, and here we are. We have so many things that do not come with Lumen by default. So like I said, a typical example would be PHP artisan make controller, in fact the make command as a whole. So with the Lumen generator service provider, which is this flipbox package we added, it gave us the ability to be able to do this. And with the Lumen vendor publisher, it also gave us the ability to be able to use things like key generate. Here, this key generate. And also our form requests, which we are not going to use in this video, but we'll see how useful that can be in generating, so not generating, but in using Laravel like form request in Lumen. And the last of them all here is our Timon GWT, which is going to help in authentication. And next up is we are going to be heading down to our app.php, and so not our app.php, our auth.php. And here we are going to be setting our guards, okay? So for our default guard is going to be set to user. And we are also going to set our guards here. So we're going to have 2 guards, basically user and admin. And our driver is going to be GWT. So we're going to be using GWT as our driver. And our provider is, of course, for user is going to be user. And our provider for admin, but first let's set our driver first. It's going to be GWT. And our provider is going to be admin. Okay, so now that we have set the guard, we are going to set our providers. So our provider for user, which is basically mapping this user provider here. Our provider for user is going to be user, and our provider for admin is going to be admin. So we're going to set our driver. So our driver for our user is going to be eloquent. Sorry, let's put that within braces like this. And then our model is going to be in our app/user, and of course this is going to be a class. And I'm going to copy this right now. And for our admin, our driver is Eloquent, and this is going to be app/admin. Okay, so for our passwords here, this is basically for resetting our password. And we're going to leave this blank since we are not going to be using this in any way. So now that we have set our guard here, let me just go through it all over again. Our default guard is set to user. Our drivers are JWT, provider, user, provider, JWT, and admin. And our driver, Eloquent, for our models. And now that we have every single thing set, what I want to do now is I'm going to create two different migrations. So I'm going to say PHP artisan make migration, and we're going to have create user table, create users table, right? And we are also going to create another migration too, and this is going to be create admin table. So we have both for our users and our admins. So I'm going to go to create user table, and for our users table here, we are going to set the parameters. So the first parameter is going to be the name, which is a string. The next is going to be the email, which is also a string too, but we're going to make sure that it is unique. The next on the list is going to be the password, or basically, yeah, the password, which is a string. And then we are going to set email verify that, which is a timestamp. So even though we are not going to use this in this application, but I just like to set this because you never know if we might want to have an upgrade on this particular application. So I'm going to set that to nullable, of course, so we can basically have that as null. We can set that as null. And we are then going to have remember token. And lastly, we are going to have timestamp, which already exists here. So what I want to do is I'm also going to copy this here and paste that in here too. So basically, they are both going to be having very similar fields. And what I want to do now is I'm going to go to my .env file. And in my .env file, I am going to give my database a name here. So I'm going to call this multi-auth db, and our username is root, and my password is an empty blank password here. So I'm going to go over to my browser, and I'm going to say php my admin, and now I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to create a new database, and I'm going to call this multi-auth db. Create that, and we have succeeded in creating that. So I'm going to run php artisan migrate, and now it has migrated our database successfully. So if I click here, we have admin, and then we have users too. So what I'm next going to do is I'm going to first of all close saved, and then I'm going to say php artisan make model, and I'm going to make user model, and I'm also going to make admin model. So that has generated for us our user model, right? User.php model. And oh my goodness, what was I doing? I appended the PHP to what I was not supposed to have appended. So let me delete this for a second. And our admin, I'm going to also delete this too. And I also forgot that we already have a user model here, which we can very easily modify. So we're only going to make admin model. So PHP artisan make model admin. And we are going to basically copy what we have here to our admin, and there are going to just be very few modifications. So we have our user, we have our admin. We're going to change this to admin, and I'm going to save that. And for our fillable, we are going to set the parameters. But what I also want to do is, because the database name is not same as our model name, I'm going to use protected table, and I'm going to set this to users if I'm correct. I think we called it create users, yes. So users, and for our admin, I think they're both the same, but let me just set it to protected table, and this is going to be our admin. And I'm going to save this, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to import, say, use our Timon JWT package, which we registered. So Timon JWT auth from contracts, and we're going to get JWT subjects. Subject, actually, not subjects. And now we save that. And what we are also going to do is our fillable parameters are not complete. We have, let's go back to create user table. We have name, email, password, email verified at. So I'd like to just add them here because I want to be able to use them when we are using our create and update. So here we have name, email, password, and here we also have name, email, and password. So name, email, password, name, email, password, users, and we have admin. Okay, so there are a couple of functions we are going to need. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to Timon JWT, and here we are in the documentation, not the GitHub account, the documentation, and I'm going to go to Lumen installation, and I'm going to go here. We're going to generate our secret key. So I'm going to do PHP artisan JWT to generate, and it has generated our secret key for us. If I go to .env, you're going to see it has generated our JWT secret key. I'm going to go to next, and here we are. We are not going to be picking up everything here. For example, use notifiable, it's not necessary. We are going to take instead 1 and 2, which is get JWT identifier and get JWT claims. So I'm going to put that in here in our users. And we are also going to copy the same from here, but let's save that first. And we are going to place that in here too. And so now let's head back to the documentation, and we have already set this up. So now it starts to tell us about setting up the routes and all that. So we're not going to do this in this video, we're going to do that in the next video. So the last thing I want to do for this video is I'm going to set up our middleware. So what I want to do is I'm going to run PHP artisan to see the list of commands we have available to us. And I can see make middleware here. So I'm going to say PHP artisan make middleware, and I'm going to call this cause, right? Middleware. So it's going to generate a middleware for us called cause middleware. And I'm going to go into cause middleware. Right in our cause middleware, what I am going to do is I am going to go straight to my repository, and I'm going to look out for, say, in our app, and then our HTTP and our middleware and cause middleware, because I can't even remember where I copied this code from. All right, and I've been using it for like a pretty good time, a good amount of time now, and it works just fine. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste that inside of a handle request. And oh no, let me just copy the whole. Okay, let me just copy the whole class or the whole file instead, and I'm going to paste that in here. So basically what this does is just it helps us with cross-site origin interceptions. All right, and I'm going to change this to the name of our file. So I'm going to call this cause middleware. And now that we have our cause middleware perfectly set up, I'm going to go into our app.php, and I'm going to register our cause middleware here. So right here we have middleware. I'm going to comment this out, and instead of example middleware, I'm going to call our course middleware. I'm going to save that and come down to our console and run php artisan serve and get over to our browser and just say localhost port 8000. And yep, we have Laravel Lumen 6.33 Laravel components. So right now it seems every single thing is perfect. So from the next video, we are going to head off into building the registration API, the login API for both the admin and as well as the users. See you in the next video.